G'day guys, welcome back to Pokey's Mechanical. Today is the biggest how-to video I've done on Pokey's Mechanical. This is going to be a how-to of doing your timing belt on a Toyota Hilux. We've got a KZN165 Toyota Hilux. It's the 1KZ so this is the turbo 3 litre that's got the timing belt that just goes down to the diesel pump. So this one's relatively easy. Now if you feel you get a lot from this video and you like the content, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button for us. It'll help a lot of other people get to see this video for them getting helped out as well. I'm going to go through and show you every single intricacy with what's going on inside the engine and what we're going to do. But if you are a novice at mechanical, do not attempt this. This is where you can damage your engine, bust valves, valves can hit pistons, all sorts of things can go wrong if you get this wrong. So this is a how-to if you're an experienced person on the tools. Don't do this if you feel like you're a novice. If you feel like you're not certain, go and get a professional mechanic to do the job for you, because you can cause yourself thousands of dollars worth of repairs, head rebuild, valves, all that sort of stuff can get damaged. So don't do this if you've never done this sort of thing before. Let's get into it. I'll show you how to do it. First of all, you need to drain your coolant. I've already done that. Next step is you've got to disconnect this wire from these here. Just need to get a screwdriver and clasp those little clips in from underneath. I've already pulled that out. So I just pull that up out of the way. I've already got the coolant out, so the hose, top hose can come off. Next you've got to deal with is the fan shroud. So there's two little clips. These two little clips are down on the sides of the fan shroud. Either side, that holds the bottom half in. So it's a two-piece fan shroud, and that'll just come out. It's got little clips at the bottom you just need to unclip out of. And then once you've got them unclipped out of there, you can just feed this around. Just be careful not to break any of your clips, any of your important retaining parts. Look at all the different angles as you're trying to get it out. And then you can take your top fan shroud out. Next step is undoing your fan. Let's just quickly get that out of the way. Do this before you loosen off any of your belts. Right, 4 belts, fan comes out. Now I'm just de-adjusting. That's my new word I've made up apparently. Apparently de-adjusting isn't a word, but I'm de-adjusting the adjuster on the alternator to get the belt off the alternator. I've actually used de-adjusting a lot of my life, and Saul's got, that's not a word. How isn't it a word? It's a word. De-adjusting. I'm de-adjusting the belt.
It's just adjusting.
Adjusting, it's making it tighter, in my mind.
Detention.
Detensioning. No, I'm de-adjusting it. I'm using it. I don't care.
Just in case.
Okay, so there's 2 clips I've just taken off the cover for the timing belt there. Then you've just got the 10 mils around the outside of it. Now we're setting it up to top dead center. You need a 22 mil socket to turn the crank, and we've got a mark on here. Now, when you get this round to top dead center, once you've got your engine at top dead center on the crank, you can check your cam. Directly straight in line, you can see that there's a little piece of cast underneath that white paint mark. There's a piece of cast down in there that we're lining up directly in line with. As well as on the diesel pump gear, you can see that there's a piece of cast coming off the backing plate, and that's in line with that as well. So now we know we're good to take off the timing belt. Okay, next step is we've got to just crack the cam bolt off there. Once you've got that cracked, just wind it back in so it's not going to actually fall away. Now we can take the tensioner off. Now we've got all that set up, take off your tensioner. Now the reason we undid this is because we're going to be changing the cam seal that's in behind this plate, and just note there's quite a bit of oil on the surface of this here, so that's a little bit of an indication this seal might be leaking or it's on its way. So we're just going to take this pulley off. Yeah. So a little bit of light tapping, that didn't take much, just with the dead blow. Now one thing to be cautious of here is make sure you've got the keyway. You don't drop and lose that little tiny piece there. Definitely don't want to lose that. So there is sealant in the back of here that you have to pry away, and then there's sealant usually on the bottom down there. So on the back of this we have to reseal this, so we'll clean that up, we'll punch that seal out, put a new one in, and then reseal this surface here that's the drain back from the head. Real hard rub with a rag gets a lot of the looser silicone pieces off like that, as well as getting rid of the oil obviously. Just make sure your scraper is reasonably sharp, that way you're able to get into there. This line here is a sealing line where you lay the bead of the sealant in, and I find that a small Phillips head screwdriver, drive that through it, can quite often lift most of this out. Now before we insert that, we just need to check that that fits on the actual cam. Now just put a little bit of rubber grease onto the cam. Just ensures that you're going to have a nice smooth fit of your seal when it goes on. Just make sure that is a nice firm fit, and it is. Tick, that's in. Now it's time to clean up this surface. First of all, I'm just going to get rid of that extra grease that I don't need there. Okay, now it's time to remove the water pump, but before I do, I'm just going to blow a heap of this red dirty stuff away. The water pump still looks alright, but you never know when that bearing or the seals in it are going to go, so while you're in here doing the timing belt, you might as well do the water pump at the same time, just for that small extra cost. You can actually buy the water pump and a whole housing that bolts to the front of the engine. Now, if you do that, you've got to actually remove the alternator bracket and I believe the aircon bracket to get that whole housing out from the back of there. But this housing is still in really good condition. It's not pitted. It's nice and clean and tidy. So I'm happy to call that and use that again. What I'm doing here is using our little sucker machine that will just suck the coolant out of the block. It stops it dripping down and getting over the surface where you need to clean like I'm doing now. Get this nice and dry. You'll see there's some black staining from the original gasket. Not worried about that being an issue. Okay, now the next step that I like to do is actually put some sealant on this. I don't trust these paper gaskets on water pumps. I've had 2 or 3 fail without using any sealant. Since I've used this Permatex Ultra Black, I've never had a water pump leak. And you don't need very much of it. You're only putting this on super light, and we're going to go and smear this in with our finger. Now I'm doing the back side of the gasket, the side that's going to go on the block, onto the housing. Don't put too much. So just push this on. We're doing a bit of finger painting with our fingers here. And we're just going to push all of that out to those outer edges. So we make sure that we've got the gaskets going to stick to the surface. I've got brake clean on my rag this time. Now you can see, because I've sucked that coolant out of the water pump housing, it's not coming forward into the face where I've got to get the seal down here. Otherwise, if you didn't suck that out, it'll continually run down here and you have a chance of the gasket not sealing. I line up that stud down the bottom first, and then we line up this dowel. Push that on, and then once you've got those lined up, everything else should just lay flat in place. If it pops away from it, just hold it there for a couple of seconds. Now that's staying in place, we can get our water pump. On our water pump, we're going to put the same layer of sealant onto the water pump. Okay, now I've got the sealant, smooth sealant layer onto the surface of the water pump. So just got to get our bottom hole where that stud will go. Line that up, and then we should be able to next feel that dowel, and that slips into place. Press it against it, and that's all located. Just do them up finger tight to start with. That way we know we've got all the gasket holes lined up without any interference with the bolts going through. You'll notice I'm doing the reverse order of how I undid this. This stud has the nut down the very bottom, that's the underside one. And the last one is a long bolt on this side. So as I was putting these into my magnetic bowl, I'm keeping those bolts organised. Now it's time to seal up this part of the job. So we've got our seal pressed into here, and now it's time to actually lay the bead around this area here. And also this area here is where the actual rocker cover gasket goes. So we're just going to put a bead of sealant through there. I'll try and put this on flat but wide, so it covers a fair bit of area. You don't have to have a lot of sealant, like it doesn't have to be piled up heaps, but it will assist it with sealing against where the rocker cover gasket sits up underneath, or on top. This sits up under the rocker cover gasket there. Just got to put a bead around this. This has got sealant on it from factory, so we put sealant back along here. Okay, we've got these dowels that need to be lined up into the holes in the back of these parts here. The backing plate, just got to put your seal on. But now the key is to get it underneath that rocker cover. I'll just tilt that slightly. And once you've tilted it, you can just push it in nicely like that. And that's pushed it in right up under the rocker cover there. Time to put our bolts in. Cam gear on. Next, put your tensioner in. I have used a very small amount of medium strength thread locker. Now it's time to put your belt on. I have a belt that's a Dayco belt, and this has got markings for the cam and for the diesel pump gear. So we can line that up on the diesel pump gear down the bottom to the mark. And when you can see that that's on the right spot, we can pull that through there. When you get your trusty assistant Saul to come and hold the belt down the bottom, you can actually use some sort of pliers or something to clamp that you can hold. It's easier if you get a second person just for this job, and then you should be able to line this straight up onto the actual, this line on the belt, straight up onto the actual timing mark gear, which that lines up to straight away. And while that's there, we can hold that up in place and put our tensioner in. Do not pull this pin out before you've got it in. You'll end up with tears. So, if you hit a baby in the face with no more tears, will they cry?
Yes.
Thank you, so.
Cheers.
All right, now we've got the water pump in, we've got the timing belt on, we've got the tensioner on, and we've got the tensioner pulley and the tensioner. Backing plate's all done, seal's done. Time to pull the pin out. Once we've got the pin out, flex that up, help it get a bit of tension, make sure it's feeling tight here. And now we need to check to make sure our timing marks are going to be lining up true after we rotate the engine. Last thing you want to do is start your engine and have valves touch the pistons, because that's what can go wrong here. Now just doing light taps like this will allow you to get the crank to exactly top dead center. We are at top dead center there. And then when we come up to the cam, don't pay attention to the line on the belt. We are looking at this mark here, and that is exactly in line with that little piece of cast there. And then we have to come down and look at the mark on the diesel pump, and that is exactly in line as well. Confession time. I started putting this all back together and put the cover back on, and I hadn't actually torqued this sprocket gear here on the cam. So this needs to be torqued to 98 Newton meters. I'll pen there because I've already done revolutions of the engine and turned it a few times. So it's not on top dead center, and I haven't got the marks lined up on the belt anymore. To actually hold the tension of the belt here, simply because when I tighten this here, it's going to push the tensioner down and allow this side of the belt here to get slack, and then that has a chance of actually skipping a tooth. So to avoid that, right here close to the gear, up the top there, we're going to get pressure in there as I tighten that, and I can probably do it by hand. Hopefully we don't turn the engine too much. There we go. And we've got that set to 98 Newton meters. Now, what you can do to take that tension back on the tensioner is just rotate the diesel pump down the bottom just a little bit. Doesn't have to be very much. And just by doing that, straight away you get that tension back in the top part of the belt. Then you've just got these clips that they just push onto where they overlap. You'll hear a very satisfying click. Top hose. Okay, now it's time to fill the radiator. I've got this radiator fill funnel, but you can just pour it in if you like. We've kept the coolant from this customer's car because the coolant was still good.
Great from Indy City.
Yep. Just watch as you pour it in. Make sure you've got your bung at the bottom of the radiator from when you drained it done up. Trying to make a video here. I'll start it up and we can bleed the coolant system. This will assist to add a little bit of gravity weight to get all the system full, making sure that you're getting heat up in these heater hoses at the back of the engine. Okay, now we've got heat up through there. No more bubbles actually coming up through, that's just coolant pushing up. That's warm there, so we can turn that off. And the best thing about these funnels is you've got a plug that can go straight down the bottom of it, pull it up, and you get very minimal mess. And the leftover that you have, you can put it in your overflow. Then once you've done that, make sure you return this this cable run back over onto the mounts there. Awesome guys, thanks very much for watching. This is all done, ready for the customer to pick up. Guess what? The audio and the last sign off didn't work while the car was still here. So here we are while I'm editing, doing the sign off in our nice new Yazoo display. So yeah, the car's gone, customers picked it up, it's driving, it's fine, it's all fixed and finished, and see you later, it's out the door. And yeah, if you guys got something from this video, if this helps you get through this job, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, all those sort of cool things. And if you made it this far, you're an absolute legend. Thanks for watching, catch you later, bye, next one, see ya. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
What do you call Milwaukee call that shirt itself? The mill running.
Oh my far out. That's yeah, I apologise if you heard that.
That was rough to hear.
That was harsh. I feel sort of sorry for him. Can't believe he moved it.